Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Welcome to Hong Kong Confidential. I'm Jules Hannaford and I'm your host. I'm an Australian woman and I've been living in Hong Kong for many years. I'm a mother, a teacher, an author, and I want to share my wisdom and the wisdom of others with you. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you enjoy the show.
You meet someone online and there's this instant connection. It's amazing how much the two of you just seem to click. They live somewhere far away and there's some plausible reason they can't travel to meet you. They tell you they're in love with you and you feel optimistic for the first time in a long time. They have a successful career, yet somehow they need money from you to solve a short-term problem, always with the promise of paying you back. Time goes on and they need more money more urgently. You've started to see the cracks and begin to wonder whether they've been lying this whole time. All of a sudden it hits you. You've been scammed. Fool Me Twice is the story of my mother, Jules Hannaford, a woman who was drawn into the dangerous world of sweetheart scams. After a trip overseas to meet a stranger, a dangerous altercation in a Manchester hotel room, and thousands of pounds lost for good, she's here to tell her story. Fool Me Twice, a true crime podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Ozcast Network, and anywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Today I'm here with John. Hi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We're here to talk about your journey with cervical cancer. Can you tell me how you first found out that things weren't quite right? What happened?
Actually, it started with just my regular smear. You know, they say with women, once you hit 30, that you should have your pap smear like on a yearly basis. So I did that, and I've always gone anyway to have my pap smear. And this one time, I think this was in 2014. And then just the results came out like with a lot of abnormalities. And typically with, women's body is really complicated, right? We can get like abnormal cells here and there, or hormonal imbalances, which would correct itself. So the first time I got like that, the clinic said, oh, just come back after 6 months, because often it could be just a hormonal imbalance. So I said, all right, okay. So I did.
This point, were you feeling worried, or were you like, no,
nothing.
That's normal?
Yeah. Of course, I was like, oh, gosh. Then I talked to some of my friends and a lot of them got that.
Yes, they'd had abnormal cells come up in the smear and then gone back later and it had been fine.
Yeah. So 6 months later, I went back. They did the test again. And this time they were like, I think you better go to Queen Mary. I said, oh, okay.
Did they say why?
Because it's still there.
Right,
The results came out the same.
At this stage, you still just had abnormal cells?
Yeah.
On your cervix, yeah?
Yes. And then so I go, okay. And then they did a cone biopsy. And that's when things got serious. So the results came. So it was, I think, the day after the rugby sevens, right? Because typically they give you an appointment at the local hospital and they'd go, okay, if all is well, just go on your appointed date. If we call you earlier, then it might be something more. So they called me.
Oh, so did you know immediately something was up?
Yes.
And how did that feel to get that call?
Oh, gosh, I couldn't explain it. I was so anxious. I was like, what is going on? Right? Because I feel normal, right? Like it's not something you feel immediately.
There's no symptoms
Nothing.
of illness or no discharge,
Nothing.
Okay.
But prior to that, my partner was telling me, you're losing a lot of weight. I never go on a diet. I love my food, right? But I was going, oh no. And then I stopped going to the gym because I also had a back problem. Oh, that was it. Just a back problem.
Oh.
I was having this
lower back pain.
Yeah, lower back pain.
Okay.
And then so it's probably the only symptom, but I thought it was like maybe from the sports that I was doing. And then I stopped going to the gym. So I thought my losing weight was more like losing muscles. But I really shrank a bit. I look at the old photos like, oh my gosh, I was that thin. So anyway, they called me in early. And I was like, oh, this is not good. So anyway, I was like, okay, yes, enjoy rugby this weekend, rugby sevens. And I did. And then the Monday after went in and yeah, they was like, yeah, you've got cancer, cervical cancer.
What was your initial response to that? Did you kind of know that was coming but by the early phone call, or were you still not sure?
I knew something was wrong, right? For them to call me in earlier than my appointment, which was like a few days early. I was like, they could have stuck to the original appointment, but no, they didn't. They called me early. So I went in and then this doctor said it. I just stood there. I was like, okay, excuse me, can I go to the toilet? So I went in, I was like, meh.
You cried in the
Yeah,
toilet?
I cried and I was like, what? Why me? That's so typical for anyone with any illnesses or disease to just say, why me? Right? It's just selfish. But
because you're only 30, you're young. It's not
Yeah.
something you expect.
I was 34 at that time.
Okay.
Well, anyway, so I went out and said, okay, fine. What are the next steps?
So you'd finished crying in the toilet. You
Yeah.
went back into the doctor.
Made myself feel
did you-
pretty.
Did you call your partner or tell
was
anybody?
with
at that?
me.
Oh, he was with you.
Yeah, he was with me.
So what was his reaction?
He was actually pretty cool. He was like calm. Of course, I think that's what one would do in a situation like that. But for me, actually, he was telling me later on that he didn't see any reaction from me. He didn't even know that I cried in the toilet.
Oh,
It was a shock, right?
yeah.
So I go, okay, what's next? And they said hysterectomy.
Okay. So can you explain what a hysterectomy is for our listeners out there?
So it's basically removing your baby house.
Okay. So it's taking out your womb or your
Yeah,
uterus.
my uterus. Yeah,
But was the cancer in your cervix?
cervix. It was cervical cancer.
So why did they remove the uterus?
Here's the thing, right? Because
Yeah.
it was early stage as well. It was just stage 1.
Right.
And I'm like, well, it's just stage 1. Surely, you don't need to remove the whole thing. But they were explaining things to me and it was a blur. Basically, there are 2 types, or there are many types. One is like not invasive, and mine was.
An
right?
invasive cancer. So
Yeah, so
more of a
it's,
fast growing.
Yeah, it's androcarcinoma,
Right.
right? So the problem is when they did a cone biopsy. So a cone biopsy is taking this sample from your cervix, the shape of a cone.
Just for people who are listening out there, the cervix is at the top of the vagina and it is the closing of the uterus. This is so scientific, as you can tell. I'm not a doctor, but it feels like the end of your nose.
Yeah.
And that the cervix is the part that it opens when you have a baby. It opens up 10 centimeters and it's closed there. And that's where a lot of cancers can start in
Correct.
the cervix.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my one was apparently, so they did. And the problem with my one is they don't know how far it's spread.
Oh, so they don't know whether it's gone up into your uterus
or other parts,
Oh,
right?
okay. Do you mean your lymph nodes or your
No,
blood?
just other reproductive organs.
Okay.
So for them, while it sounded drastic, that was the best way they could think of given my medical condition.
To ensure that it was all gone.
Yeah,
Right.
just to stop it from spreading.
It's like, I guess, I don't know if this is the right thing to say or not, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's kind of like if you get breast cancer, having a mastectomy, you're
Yeah,
removing the rest
correct.
of the risk of it spreading.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Right. Good.
So I was like, what?
How did that feel at 34 to
Oh,
think you had to
gosh.
have your uterus
I went,
removed?
I've seriously gone from, I don't know, I went nuts. Just the idea of it's like, hey, it's my uterus. I get to decide what to do with it. Then you become like this selfish person. You go, no, it's mine. So anyway, I already have a child at that time.
This is your older son?
Yeah, my
Okay.
oldest son.
Yeah.
So he was, I think, 17, 18 at that time. Yeah. So I was like, my brother, bless him, he's so like, he would say it to your face, like really quite bluntly. He goes, well, you've never used it anyway for the past 18 years. Why are you becoming so possessive over it suddenly?
Very pragmatic
I
approach.
know.
But did you know, I think this is correct, if you have your uterus removed, that you're sent into early menopause, aren't you?
Yes.
Right. Did you know that at the time or did anyone tell you that?
Yeah, I think so. But like I said, there were too much information.
Because you were in shock?
Yeah. In denial.
Oh, okay. So you're in
course.
denial?
I was in denial. So I had to ask for a second opinion.
Okay.
So
Always a wise thing to do,
Yeah.
isn't it? You went and got tested again, did you?
No, actually, all the results that I got, because they're centralized now. So in a local hospital here, there's a scheme now actually that if you enroll to it, that they give you a password and access and to release your information to another medical
Oh,
practitioner.
isn't that good?
Yeah.
Okay, so that really makes it easier for you to take those one lot of results
Yeah.
and then get a second opinion. So what happened when you saw the second doctor?
And this doctor I trust completely with my life. It's one of the private practices here in the city as well. I've known them for many, many years through my work. And I asked for this favor. They also called in a specialist.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. And they reviewed together. So I think there were 2 or 3 who reviewed my medical information. And they all came to that conclusion as well, that is the best course of action. But they were saying, because I was like, I'm too young. I'm too young. I just couldn't. Right. But when this doctor said it, it's like game over.
Right.
Right.
You knew you had to do it.
Yeah. And then at that time, my eldest brother's wife was going through cancer problems as well. So she started off with breast cancer. Then so she was like okay for 5 years. And then it spread to her bones. Yeah, it was tough. And then when they heard I wasn't quite willing to undergo hysterectomy as the best course of action for my condition. So my brother flew here and he was just like, don't be stupid.
Follow their advice.
Yeah,
he was worried about it spreading as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
you'd had a second opinion from people you trusted and the
Exactly.
specialist came in. Everyone had the same conclusion. So how did you get your head around making the decision to go ahead?
it wasn't easy. Like I said, I go like from emotion to emotion. I think my job also helped put things in perspective. But I tell you, it wasn't easy. I was angry. I was in denial. I was drinking a lot just to kind of like, I don't want to think about it. But eventually I'm like, whew, okay, fine. And I had the support of my friends and my family. So anyway, I was like, okay, fine. Let's just do it. Get it over and done with.
Did you look into whether you could have chemotherapy or radiotherapy and all of that instead? Or did you have to have that anyway?
It wasn't even an option.
It wasn't an option? Why?
No,
because of the type of cancer?
They just said this is the best way.
Right, okay.
And then after that, they will see if I need those follow-up treatments.
Okay, right.
Right?
And
Because
then
that comes after.
before you go on to making the decision and then having it done, in this time, did you fear your own mortality? Did you think about death? Did you think about you might not survive this? Was this something, or did you always know that you were going to survive?
Yeah, I knew I was going to survive. I knew I was my own demon. I knew I was my own block because I had all the facts in front of me. I was responsible enough to get second opinion. I got my family also sharing and supporting me.
Did the doctor say to you, this is curable? It's possible if you have your uterus removed?
They're basically saying it's early stage. This is the best course of action if you want to live long.
Okay.
I'm like, well, if it's early stage, why do you have to remove it? I still had that like stubbornness. So anyway, I decided, fine, okay. It was so painful. I wasn't living anymore.
Do you mean emotional pain?
Yeah, emotional,
Right,
emotional
okay.
and psychological.
Right. And how long from finding out that you had cervical cancer to having the hysterectomy was it?
Oh, no, because there's a spin. So it'll be a while.
Okay, yeah, good. What's the spin?
Okay, so then I decided, fine, let's get on with it. So I think when they told me after Rugby Sevens, right, so that was March, they scheduled me immediately in June. So that's why I'm really like baffled. I'm like, you're rushing things, but you're telling me I'm still early stage, So I also have this thought in my mind. If you say I'm early stage, why are you rushing to get it done?
Is it because it was an aggressive form of cancer?
Yes, correct.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. When you learned that, did you still not have fears for your life or not?
No, I don't know why not. I don't know why.
Interesting.
Yeah, my family were telling me, you've got a son. Think of him, don't be stupid and stubborn. And I was like, yeah, okay. But maybe it's that.
I think maybe you're just not a catastrophizer. Like some people go to the worst case scenario where obviously you weren't doing that in your mind.
Yeah, I think because first of all, I need to get my head around actually doing this procedure, right? As a woman, all women out there, you know how it means to be a woman, right? So there's that kind of sentiment in my head. One of my nieces told me, yeah, but Tita, it's not like you walk around the city or on the street and they go, hey, do you still have your uterus? Hey, do you have your ovaries? She said it now. I'm like, Yeah, easy for you to say. You're so young, you know? So there
Yeah.
are kind of different perspectives.
But it challenges notions of femininity, doesn't it? And it challenges your notion of womanhood, and it also challenges aging as well,
Yeah.
and menopause, and that has its own set of risks involved, like osteoporosis and things like, and hormonal changes. So there's a lot to consider, isn't there?
And I think also at that time, so me and my partner, we've been together for some time, and we're both not bothered to have a child, right? He didn't think he was going to have another child anyway, because in his previous relationship, they tried for a year and got nowhere. And he goes like, you got to take this. I mean, he was my rock, right? He was saying like, don't worry about it, silly. And it's like, but we're never, ever going to have that chance. Not that we wanted to anyway. And he goes, I'm fine with it. You know, I'm really absolutely fine with it. What's important to me is that you stay alive and actually be in the relationship.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, finally scheduled for June. The original date that they gave me was actually my son's graduation in high school. So I called up the local hospital. They were so nice to me. I was like, can we reschedule my operation because it's my only son's graduation? Not that it was their fault. I don't know why I made it sound like that. So they were like, yeah, sure, okay. Let's do it the following week. With any surgery or major surgeries, you have to come in a week or a few days prior for the pre-assessment. So I did that the week before. No, that's everything. Blood tests, pregnancy tests, everything that they needed to prepare you for surgery. So fast forward to the following week. So we enjoyed my son's graduation. It was well and good. So the following week, then I was scheduled. I was the first one on the line because you have queues and stuff, especially it was a local hospital. Went in and then was being prepared, right? And then about to put on my lab gown and everything. To get it out of the way.
The gardening, the landscaping. Have the landscaping done.
About to. And then, so anyway, the nurse came running and she was like, stop. We got to call the doctor. And I was like, what?
What was your feeling? Were you worried?
I wasn't sure. I was like, what was happening? And then she was like, you're pregnant.
No way. What?
I know. I'm sorry. I said, fuck you to the nurse. I'm so sorry. I was like, is this some sort of a sick joke? I was like, oh. And so my partner was going, calm down. And I cried. I was like, if this is some sick joke, it's not funny. Because the journey I had to go through to actually get myself there and to accept that I was going to get that done was quite,
full
tremendous.
On. Yes.
Yeah. So anyway, they go, no, I'm not kidding. I was like, but I was just here last week. You did a pregnancy test. Long and short, we waited. The doctor came and actually showed us. And the thing is, it was only 4 weeks. Often in pregnancy,
yes,
it
4
doesn't
weeks. Show up.
So that's why the week before it was only 3 weeks and they didn't see anything.
Oh.
And so that was the 4th week. And then everyone in my family, right, were waiting. So my partner go, oh, we have to cancel the surgery. Why? What happened? She's pregnant. Silence from my family.
You're like, what? Now what do you do? Is it like, I'm at risk, I've got cancer, should I have a termination and then have this operation done?
Correct.
Yeah, or have I got time to have this baby?
Exactly.
What's going to happen with the cancer over 9 months?
You see, you're asking all those questions.
Did you ask those questions?
Oh, yes, of course.
And what were the answers? What did they say?
So the doctor took us to one room and explained everything. First of all, showed us the baby. Actually, you can see it already, the fetus. It was just a tiny, tiny little thing, right? And I was like, but what does it mean? Is it even possible? And she said, yes, because you're early stage. We will take care of you. We will see that you go through this pregnancy, but I'm going to have basically was taken care of by 2 departments, the high-risk pregnancy and the Department of Cancer.
Oh my gosh.
It was basically at the hospital every, 3-4 weeks to the point. So can I just have a room here?
Yeah,
I'm always here anyway.
So they were monitoring the progress of your cancer throughout the pregnancy, were they? I've heard that sometimes pregnancy hormones can make the cancer go faster. Is that true or not?
No, because I actually asked this doctor, have you had cases like this before? Where the patient was already diagnosed with cancer and got pregnant. And they said no.
Oh, no, great.
And they said usually it's the other way around. They find cancer when the woman is pregnant because of all the tests. what does this mean? This doesn't sound comforting.
Yeah.
So that's why actually we made the announcement of my pregnancy a bit later, because I went through a series of tests again just to make sure everything is well and good. And they said, don't worry, it'll happen. Make sure you come and see us on all those appointments that we ask. So actually, I was going every 3 or 4 weeks to check my cervix, because also that's another danger, because I had the cone biopsy already, which made my cervix shorter.
Yes, right.
So the danger, right, was for the baby to just slide out.
Right, yeah.
And so up to about 21 weeks, because they monitor you up until 20 weeks. I think I had a postponement and I came in at 21 weeks. And my cervix was wide, because that's what they were worried about, right? And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And they said, I'm sorry, because we can't do anything anymore because you're 21 weeks. The margin was 20 weeks for them to do something about it, like to put
Sew
something.
it up or something. Yeah.
And I was like, so what do I do? In case of emergency, come here. I'm like, oh, gee, thanks.
Oh my
so
gosh.
just in case of emergency, you have no prevention whatsoever. Do I need to lie down until I give birth? Tell me. And I'm like, no.
Oh my God.
So that went into my head again.
Oh my
right?
gosh, how stressful
So
this must have all
stressful.
been.
Yeah. So, but they gave me like something to put inside and take. So I had to take it for 4 weeks. Imagine the pain in 4 weeks. I was walking like an old person.
Well, you had to put something up inside you to
suppository. I think
sort
it's
of-
hormones. So to make it expand.
Okay, got it. To make the cervix expand.
Yeah.
How was the cancer going in this time? Like, was it getting worse
No.
or was it just staying the same?
Yes, correct.
What was it like being pregnant, knowing you had cancer, knowing you were supposed to have a hysterectomy, but then you can't have that hysterectomy for 9 months? What was that like in your head?
To be honest, I forgot about it. I
Did
think the
you?
whole pregnancy was the best thing, because
Right.
it made me not think about
Change
it.
your focus.
Correct. In my head, it was just, the mother instinct of protecting this little one inside you, right? That's all I could think of. Not actually the cancer. For a while, forgot about it, right? But then it kind of, when that 21 weeks happened and then my cervix kind of opened up or whatever, then the fear started coming in again. And I was like, oh my God. I said, this
But
is
was
so
that-
unfair.
Was that fear about the cancer though, or fear about the
Of
risk
losing
to the baby? Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like, this is so
Mm.
unfair. First, I didn't want you to remove my uterus. Then secondly, I was ready. Then you said I can't because I have a baby. I said, like, what kind of joke is this? If I don't get to keep this baby, you know what I mean? Then I became this like, I was like so emotionally distraught.
I'm sure. And your hormones are running amok anyway because you're pregnant.
Yeah. Damn you, everyone. But not my baby. But yeah. So anyway, after 4 weeks, it was fine.
The 4 weeks of the suppositories.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it
okay.
actually worked.
Oh, right.
Oh my
Great.
God,
That's
thank-
a relief.
Yeah. So then I proceeded with the pregnancy, but then I gave birth 6 weeks early.
Was he a big baby? Because he's a massive kid now.
I know.
Their son is about, like, is he what, 3 or 4? 3?
He's 4. He looks like 6 or 7.
Yeah, 8. He looks like a 9-year-old.
I mean, maybe that's the reason why I had to
So-
give birth early. What would have
Was
happened
he
down
a big
there?
baby?
So for 34 weeks, he was 6.2 pounds.
Oh my God, that's about what my daughter was at.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but she was 37 weeks. But still,
Yeah.
did you have a
Emergency
so you had
C-section.
C-section and the uterus removed
No,
at that
not yet.
time?
Not
Oh,
yet.
okay. How
They
come?
couldn't do it together.
Why?
There was
Too
an
complicated?
explanation. Yeah. I think you have to focus on one
Okay.
because you're cut, I
And in
think.
different places
Yeah.
as well, wouldn't it be? Yeah.
So they said, let me recover first, and then they'll give me an appointment. So I had a C-section, and then it got infected. I don't know why.
No, what?
Jesus, it's just like, what the?
What did that look like? An infected cut? Or
Yeah.
was the infection inside?
The cut. Even asked to stay for another day just so I don't need to move because we live on an island where there's no cars.
Yes.
Right?
So you had to have antibiotics for that?
Yeah, I had to go every day to the local hospital in town
Yeah.
to get it cleaned. And they typically wanted me to do it twice a day, but I was breastfeeding, right?
Oh,
And I had no helper because I just sent her for a holiday thinking I would give birth
but-
6 weeks
oh,
later.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And it was one of those coldest spells in Hong Kong, 2016.
Oh, right. It was
super
so cold.
Like, I think it went even down to 1 or 3 degrees here in Lama.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So I was going there every day, right? Just like rushing. And then Anyway, I said, please, I beg you, I can't come here twice a day. So then they had to ask the local clinic here to do the second one.
Oh, great.
Oh my God, I swear to God, I feel like I was just breastfeeding and having my wound cleaned.
Yeah, all the time.
Right.
And dealing with hormones. And then in the back of your mind, you still got to have a hysterectomy.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Was
my
that
poor
playing on your
partner.
mind, or were you
I don't
just
actually
focusing?
remember anymore.
Okay, so you were just focusing on the here and now. Yeah.
So anyway, all gone. So I gave birth in January, and I think I had a hysterectomy in April or May.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like?
It was actually, I didn't feel a thing. I mean, I had pain once, like excruciating pain, because I think I overworked myself. You know how we are. It's like, yeah, I'm fine. And you just run around doing things as if you're Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suffered because of that.
Okay.
But apart from that, the recovery, because they did the robotic one.
Is it like a smaller incisions?
Yeah, laparoscopy.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So just 3 holes.
Yeah.
And in the middle.
How did they get it out?
Down there too, through your vagina.
Down your vagina.
Yeah, so they insert, very small needles, 3 points, and then they cut it and then they let it slide. Oh, that's the thing. That's why they couldn't do it at that time when I had a C-section.
Right. That makes sense. Did they give you any sort of update on where your cancer was at that time, and had it spread into your uterus or anything like that?
Yeah. So after the surgery, I came back after 2 weeks to get results. And the results were good. It hadn't spread anywhere else. And actually, while I did a total hysterectomy, they kept my ovaries, which is great. So technically menopause, but not. I still ovulate.
Oh, right. So does that mean because your ovaries are still there that you didn't have the menopausal symptoms?
Correct.
Okay.
So I get the best side, I guess, the good side of not having to worry about your bloody period.
Yeah.
But still have the hormones.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So from there, did you have to have any chemo or radiotherapy?
No, I think I'm one of the lucky ones.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So,
wow.
But then I have my relationship with the hospital is quite long. At the beginning, I thought it was just 5 years. I was going every 3 months for about a year, then 4 months for another year. And then I think just recently now every 6 months.
Is that for more smear tests so that they can check
everything.
that it hasn't come back?
Yeah.
Oh, mammograms, everything?
Yeah. They just do physical exam, pap smear, everything. So I go like, hey, doctor, is this relationship for 5 years? Oh, no, 10. What? That's such a long relationship. Okay, we better like each other. But yeah, and no symptoms, no nothing. Touch wood, I've been going regularly and nothing. All clear.
All clear. Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, it took that to actually for me to have a miracle baby.
Isn't that a miracle? That's amazing.
Yeah. Because I think if it was left to just us, we wouldn't thought of having one. But now I couldn't think of our life together without the little one who's not so little.
No, it's huge. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what an amazing story. What advice would you have for any woman who is told that they have cervical cancer?
I think be responsible, and nobody's taking away from you that it will be a hard journey. The acceptance is, I think, what's going to be hardest to deal with at the beginning, because as a woman, we grew up with a certain expectations of ourselves being a woman, but actually womanhood is not decided or judged upon what you still have, your reproductive organs. No, I mean, other women choose not to have kids. Does that make them less a woman? Less of a woman? Of course not, right? So I think if you are in this position, I think just trust that if you are responsible, that everything can go well. It can be treated. Now with modern technology, there's no reason why anyone should die from cervical cancer.
Yeah. And I think the other message out there, I think it's from 25 onwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you should be having a smear test. Some countries say every
30,
year.
Yeah.
Or every 2 years you should be. 10 years ago, they were saying as soon as you become sexually active, you should be having a smear test. But now I think they've moved the age to 25. But you're saying 30. But anyway, the fact of the matter is we've got to make sure that we have regular pap smears to check for cervical cancer.
And I think HPV vaccine for the young girls.
Yes.
Actually, for me, I think boys should have it too.
Well,
because they're the carriers.
They can. And also, anybody can have it now. This day and age. It used to be restricted to under 25 or 4 or something like that, but now the vaccine can be given to anyone.
Exactly.
Also, of course, women need to do regular breast checks, self-breast examination for breast cancer, because that's one of the highest recovery rates if you get onto it early for cancer. And I think we really do need to take care of ourselves. We often get so busy that we don't take time to go and have the smear test and do the breast self-examination. And I believe after 40, you're supposed to have mammograms every 5 years or something like that. I think so. I might have made that up, but it's not it's not a bad idea. Yeah, it sounds responsible. I am not a doctor, ladies and gentlemen. But I've had a few mammograms because I'm 54. I've maybe had 3 or 4.
Okay.
And it's fine. They just squash your boob on a plate and take a photo and then you're fine.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't really hurt.
I think nowadays all these tests are made so easy and convenient that there's no
reason
excuse
not to do it. And you shouldn't be embarrassed or ashamed or worried. And this is why it's important to have these conversations. And it's so fantastic that you've come on this podcast to talk about your journey with cervical cancer. Because if we have made a difference to one woman out there who's listening to this and goes, okay, I haven't had a smear test, they go and get a smear and they keep themselves healthy, then that's so important, isn't it?
And I think also another message is if you think you can't afford it, like the public health now, government, public institutions will make it available for you at a very, very good rate. Right? Because this is actually a public health issue, right? So
yes. And in Hong Kong, we've got the family planning centre that you can go to in Wan Chai.
Exactly. That's where I went.
And it's very cheap to get it done there. And I think it's really important that everybody does talk about this more. I don't know why these issues are so sort of cloak and dagger and undercover and things that we don't talk about. We should be talking about our uterus health and our cervical health and our womb health and our ovaries health. We should be speaking about all of these things, and it's great to have this conversation.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself through going through this experience?
Well, I guess resilience, right? I mean, we all have that in us. And I think regardless of being a female or male, unfortunately or fortunately, females have more parts or organs to actually think of, you know, or worry about.
Ours are all enclosed in our bodies where the penis and the testicles and all of that are outside of the body and they can be seen and felt more easily.
But this is why women are amazing, right? We've all got these tools, right? That's why we were created this way, because we can actually make a life. A life could be brewing inside us, but equally, you know, we have to be responsible of how we take care of our bodies, right? And again, you know, not all women would want to have kids, so which is absolutely fine. But you still have to be responsible because that's still part of your body.
Yes, exactly. If you could do anything differently, would you do anything differently looking back?
No.
And what about the healthcare and the professionals that you worked with? Were you really happy with the way you were treated?
I have so much respect for them. And I know a lot of people complain about the local system, but all I got was absolute good care.
Isn't that wonderful? And we've got such talented doctors in Hong Kong. It's some of the best, you know, we've got Queen Mary's one of the best teaching hospitals in the world.
Yes.
So we're very, very lucky, aren't we?
You know, they took care of me, right? And of course, sometimes they don't have the best bedside manner. Who cares? They'll take care of you.
Yeah,
you know, they'll save your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, I think if my story can help a
people
person,
in your work, which is
any
fantastic.
person, or inspire someone to also come out and talk more about her experience, then that's great, because a lot of women are probably not so confident in sharing their story.
What did you appreciate most about life once that you knew that you had the all clear and you didn't have cancer anymore? What were the things that you valued? Did your priorities change?
Well, I just realized that then I have longer life to live to help people.
Oh, isn't that lovely? And you help people in your work, which is fantastic. John, how was your partner during the whole cervical cancer journey? What was it like for him?
Actually, it was interesting because when we first found out, when the doctor announced what I had, he actually broke down first before me, and he went crazy because his father passed away quite recently at that time. So in his head, he was being punished. First his father, then me. So in his head, I was in danger of leaving him, or, you know, he
was going to lose you.
Yeah, exactly.
Did he share that with you, or did he talk to you about
Just
that
once
feeling?
at the beginning when he had a breakdown. I haven't had a breakdown yet. So it took me a while to actually have my first breakdown, because I looked at him, was like, oh, okay, are you okay? So I had to console him at the beginning. So after that, then we both kind of got in like, okay, right, let's do this together, and then later when everything is all well and good, he goes like, oh, I was really scared. He was really, really scared for me.
That he thought you were going to die?
Yeah. I
Right.
didn't.
You didn't,
but he
he
didn't tell
did.
me, I guess,
Right.
because he was being strong for me.
Yeah. And what do you think? Do you know what he would say to anybody who has to support a partner going through cancer?
That it's not about the partner or him. If this happens, that they have to give all out support to the woman, because it's one thing to say, yeah, I understand cancer, but it's another thing to be that woman in that position.
Also, I meant to ask you as well, what was his attitude to having the baby? Was he like, don't have it and have the hysterectomy, or was he like, have it?
Oh, he was in shock.
He was just in shock.
He was just in shock. We were both in shock for a while.
He didn't really have any sort of opinion on what you should do?
He initially said that, I can't believe this, because he never thought, first of all, that he was capable of having one, because I told you he tried with his ex-wife before for a year and nothing happened. And then, but actually later on, we discovered that it was the girl who had a problem.
Oh, right.
Right. But in his mind, he was going like, oh my God, this is too impossible. We were both in shock and in denial for about 2 months.
Did you just really follow the doctor's advice, and they said you could have the baby and have the hysterectomy after and you'll be fine, and you trusted in that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I just trusted in the universe that I would have this baby, right?
Yeah.
Like I was like, surely.
How in love is your partner with being a dad?
Oh, he loves it. He loves it. He was just like, I couldn't believe,
And
that
he's
we
got a
have-
little mini me, hasn't he?
Yep. Yep.
Your son is just like him. It's
It's
hilarious.
exactly like him.
I know, exactly. That's why he's so big as well, because your partner
he
is
does
so
say
big.
now, mini me.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
so cute. What did you need from him as far as support?
Understanding, because there were so many times when I was just off my head, right? Like just being hormonal, being like unreasonable, being scaredy cat, or having the worst fears. Oh, I'm gonna lose this baby. Oh, this is a funny story. I was watching those silly reality TV shows of giving birth, and then I went to him one day and said, I can't do this. I can't do this. And he goes, can't do what? Give birth. And he goes,
You'd already
why?
done it once
I know,
before.
I know. And he goes, why? I said, because it looks painful. And he goes, but you've done it before. I know, but I've forgotten about it.
Yeah, we do. We all forget very quickly how much it hurts. The other question I was going to ask you was, has losing your uterus impacted your femininity in hindsight now that you're looking back? Has it changed or altered the way you perceive yourself as a woman?
Absolutely not.
Isn't that interesting? But was that one of your fears
Yeah.
initially?
Yeah.
But it hasn't impacted
No,
you at all?
absolutely not. And I think going back to my niece's, comment, yeah, you don't walk around, people ask if you still have your uterus, And
Yeah.
also, like I said earlier, being a woman, is not limited to that.
No, it's not. And have you gone through menopause then? Do you know? Or
I mean, technically, yes.
yes, but
Yeah.
you didn't have any symptoms.
No.
Okay.
No, yeah.
That's interesting, because some people do, don't they,
'Cause
after hysterectomy?
They kept my ovary.
But is that why you...
Yeah.
So could you still go through it later then? Because...
Yeah, I mean, technically, I can donate my ovaries to a surrogate mother. I can still have babies.
Oh,
Interesting, huh?
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, because we've all got a certain amount of eggs, haven't we? And
Yeah.
your eggs are just sitting there.
Yeah.
Oh, which means you may never go through menopause because they're not getting dropped down. I am not a doctor. I do
I will
not know.
still go through it at a certain time.
At
So I'll
85.
I'll tell you.
Listeners out there, I've got no idea what I'm talking about. So do not quote me on any of this, and do your own research. Use Google to find out.
It's not
Okay.
reliable.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for chatting to me today, John, about your cervical cancer journey. It's really, really wonderful of you to open up, and I really hope that we help other women out there going through the same thing, or just to get onto having pap smears and looking after themselves. For my listeners out there, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends. Please rate and review us on iTunes. And I'm going to ask John now some secret questions for Patreon. So if you would like to hear her questions, you can go to Patreon, Patreon Hong Kong Confidential, and for as little as $1 a month, you can hear the answer to John's questions and to my other guests. So thanks again, John. It's really been so fantastic to talk to you today.
Thank you. You made it fun, actually.
Oh, yeah.
You really made it fun.
Yeah, who could make cervical cancer so much fun?
So fun. I know, only you, Jules.
I know. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and do your breast self-check and go and get a pap smear, all the girls out there who are sexually active or over 25. Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hi, Confidants. I want to tell you about my Patreon page. I've joined Patreon in the hope of getting sponsorship for my Hong Kong Confidential podcast. Patreon is a great way for my listeners to get on board and sponsor me with monthly payments, and that goes towards my production costs and rewards for my members. If you're interested in checking out my Patreon page, please go to patreon.com and search up Jules Hannaford or Hong Kong Confidential. I would really appreciate you visiting my page. So that brings us to the end of another Hong Kong Confidential podcast. I'm Jules Hannaford. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll be with me again next week. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please can you go to iTunes to rate and review it. I would really appreciate your feedback. You can email me at jules@hongkongconfidential.net, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hong Kong Confidential. If you'd like to hit me up on Twitter, it's at Jules Hannaford. I would love to hear from you.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.